We're back. Hey guys, it's Ted Bogert with The Ted Show. Super excited to have this guest on. I love musical guests. I am a closeted musical person, or at least in my own mind, I can sing in the shower. So I love when our guests come on and perform and talk about their journey, especially after 2020 was so crazy for the arts community. And today we have Jay Della Valle.
That's it. Right? You got it.
Right.
Nailed it.
With Owls and Lions on the show. Welcome, Jay. How you doing?
Thanks, Ted. Good to be here.
Super excited to have you. I had to ask him how to pronounce his name, of course. Anybody who watches the show knows sometimes the last names get me. So the audience loves an origin story, Jay. So tell us a little bit about your journey. Did you always know you were musical? Were you one of those kids that performed in front of your parents or friends, or was this a later in life discovery? So give us a 411.
You know, it's been an all my life discovery. I was literally, I literally marinated in the environment of the life of a professional musician. My dad has been a professional singer, band leader for his entire life since the 60s.
Wow.
He came up in Newark, New Jersey during the time of the Four Seasons and was like kind of on the outskirts of that world. And, by the time I was born, he was a very successful wedding singer and band leader. And our whole existence was subsidized by the success of my dad and mom's wedding business that flourished during the 80s and the 90s. So I literally grew up watching my dad, go to work on the weekends, getting dressed up in his formal wear, splashing his cologne on and practicing his songs all the time and coming back at the end of the night late. I mean, this was normal for me to live in a musical household where not just around someone who played music, but someone who was constantly preparing to entertain and perform. So a lot of the things that really come into play when it comes to being a good performer, like really were just things that I just witnessed, firsthand, secondhand from just watching my dad do this. So I was very quick to feel comfortable getting up in front of the microphone and singing karaoke at a very young age.
Did you know you wanted to do it? Like a lot of kids, they look at what their parents do and they're like, I want to do the exact opposite. So you must have caught the bug, fell in love with it. But it's one thing to fall in love with it as a kid and learn it early. It's another thing to make it your vocation. What was that decision like? Did you try other things, or did you always know and always work on being a full-time musician?
Which is a great question. When I was really young, like before, I always played music. I always played various instruments, and people would ask me to be in their bands, and I would play, and I just very much enjoyed that. And the only other jobs I had outside of music were the jobs I was a lifeguard or something like young kids did. I worked at Planet Hollywood, a couple of things, but pretty much I was offered my first opportunity to DJ and be the person responsible for the music. Like when I was in high school, people were asking me to DJ their Sweet 16s and DJ. Wow. I DJ'd my first wedding when I was 17 years old, and the money was so good, and I was so natural at it, and so quick to just be the person who was like, yeah, I'll do that, because I'd seen it and I knew I was able to just show up and step into that role. From 16, 17 years old, I was the music man. And I went to NYU. I ended up going to NYU for film. And throughout the entire time, wow, I was living in Manhattan, which was only about half an hour from where I grew up. I was coming home every single weekend to DJ people's weddings and then shooting back into the city to go to school and study film. So I was simultaneously pursuing a career in film and acting, and also gigging as a musician and a DJ for weddings, and somehow harnessing all this my musical and entertaining abilities to kind of create, just pull in income and kind of create this adventure, which led me all over the place. But all the while I was fully subsidized. My lifestyle was fully subsidized by my musical and entertaining talents.
That's a blessing, because a lot of people have the talent. Some maybe don't have the talent, but they have the drive. And it isn't always necessarily just because you're an amazingly gifted musician doesn't mean you get work, or that you know how to work it in the business world, because there's an entire side of the business that is not just performing. You've got to book gigs, and you've got to record and collaborate. And So it's one thing to love music. It's another thing to love everything around it, which it sounds like you do. And you've got an ear for it. What'd your parents say when you said, this is what I want to do?
I never really said that. I just kind of fell into it. It was just one of those things. Like I just, to be honest with you, I wasn't even thinking I wanted to do music solely. People would always ask me, what do you want to do more, act or do music? And I would be like, I don't know. It's like asking me which kid I love more. Like both of them. Like what kind of opportunities are you offering? Like, it's funny because what started to happen was I started to be offering opportunities that were both. I would start to get the kind of acting opportunities that I was playing like singers or good act, parts that required you to play the guitar. Like that became my niche as an actor. And I eventually did films that, where I played like the rock star or I played the singer, the band. I'm like, wow, this started to happen. After a decade of just trying to find that special niche and like which to kind of market myself and my abilities. But to this day, I mean, now I'm focused more on the music thing, and it's been, a choice to do that. But back then it was like all about just opportunities to just grow and to play in front of people and just like really, showing up for anything when people, it's all about showing up and just putting yourself out there and not asking yourself those questions. Well, what if I did this? Or what if I can't do this? Or asking somebody just yes. Yeah, like you need some entertainment, like you need someone to take that responsibility, like, sure, what do you have in mind? And I had a couple of different ways I could kind of satisfy those needs for people, and I just put myself out there constantly.
And where did Owls and Lions come in? What was the impetus behind that? How did that get developed?
Well, I was playing many different bands since high school and into college. And like after that, about 2001, 2003, I started writing and recording my own music and playing with my own rock band. And we were touring and doing that whole thing. And it was fun. And, we kind of spent my whole 20s doing that. And at some point in the adventure, I was DJing a friend / a girl who was my publicist at the time. I was DJing her wedding, and she had hired a friend of hers who was a girl she had just met within the year to play violin at her wedding ceremony. She was this hot chick with a violin, and I was walking around. I was walking around cocktail hour, picking around, and I see this chick playing, and I was like, "Hey, what's going on?" And we started chatting, and I said, "Did you ever play in a rock band before?" And she said, "No." And I said, "Well, you should, consider it." And she said, "I'll listen to your stuff." And she did. And not too long after that, she said, "I love your stuff." And I memorized it already. Like, do you want to do rehearsal? And I said, "Why don't you come and meet the guys?" So a week later, she was coming to a rehearsal with 5 guys in a musty rehearsal room. And of course they were all a little like, "What is this? What's happening? What are you doing?" And, she just got into the band. She started playing keys and violin and singing. Wow. And the band, went on tour, and we were playing with this girl in our band and just doing that whole thing for about a year. And then after that, the band started to just kind of the energy of the band thing was just kind of getting a little tired. People were in different points in their life, and I was kind of feeling like I needed to, make a decision. I was getting married at the time. I was about to have my first kid, and I just felt like the band wasn't really happening. But her and I were. And simultaneously, as the band kind of took a break, a permanent break, her and I said, "Well, listen, why don't we just kind of change tunes? There's a lot of acoustic stuff and a lot of lower key stuff that we love to play that we don't get to play in the rock band. Why don't we go into this acoustic violin guitar thing, like Civil War style Lumineers? And why don't we just why don't I reach out to all my clients, my DJ clients? I had so many weddings. It's what I did full time for my job. Why don't I reach out to everyone? We'll make a video. I'll reach out to everyone and see if anybody wants to book us for their ceremony and cocktail hours, since I'm already DJing the wedding." So I sent an email out and a video to all my clients, and within 1 week, I had 30 events on the books.
Wow. Wow. That was smart. That was a smart pivot.
It just, now we just pivoted, and not only did we have another kind of lane to go down, but they were paying gigs. Like they were paying opportunities, and and I'm having my first kid, and she's getting married, and I'm getting married, and she's starting having. So now it turns into this thing that's like profitable, and life is getting so difficult. I mean, Nicole was pregnant doing gigs till she was pregnant. She was doing gigs. She was late with both of her kids.
Wow.
And she was doing gigs. Actually, both gigs. She was actually on a gig. She was 1 week late, and she's still on the gig playing. I mean,
that's a trooper.
And energies, you can imagine the energies of like just what going through all that life stuff. I mean, we have literally just like the Owls and Lions has like kind of come into its own throughout so much of that life experience where life is just so hard. This was like a place for us to just know, all right, we still have to keep our skills sharp here and show up and entertain and perform. And we didn't miss a beat during those years. Like we just kept it going.
Miss any beats, but we've already got the questions, which I told you before we went live. Where did the name come from?
Nicole, it's really not that interesting of a story, but you know how hard it can be for people to choose names and to settle on that. I've often, argued about it with bands before and never really settled on anything. That's why I went with my last name for my rock band. But at the time we were sitting down to discuss what we were going to be called because we needed a name. Nicole was just a girl who was obsessed with owls, the way some men are obsessed with Star Wars. People would just send her owl figurines, and she had owl tattooed on her. She was the owl before we were Owls and Lions. And I am a consummate and dedicated quintessential Leo. My mother and father are also Leos. We're just all about lions and sons. And we're like, let's just keep it simple and go with the owl and the lion, which turned into Owls and Lions because we thought maybe we'd expand the band into more people. And it was as simple as that.
So how do you describe your music? What's the genre? Does it fall into one? Do you and when they're going to listen and you're going to perform for us today, how do you describe it? Can you put it in a box, or is it all sorts of different kinds of sounds?
Well, I describe it, probably the term I use to describe it most is indie folk, which is like more of like a contemporary folk sound as opposed to like a classic folk sound like one would associate with like Bob Dylan and the classic folks. We don't sound like that. We don't write songs about political minded songs. Indie folk, and especially when we're a duo, it's very much indie folk Americana because it's guitar, violin, two vocals. Sometimes people think we're country-ish because of the violin, and we often have an Irish tinge to us too because there's a lot of gang vocals and there's that sense of community of that we kind of incite the way we play things. A lot of people feel like we have an Irish thing to us, which is not intentional, but it's definitely, we love that kind of music.
Well, when you add the violin, I mean, it has that sort of Titanic, I forget what the group is Gaelic Storm, but it has that kind of thing. So I'm fascinated to listen. One of the things I don't do, which you probably know, is listen to anything prior. So I'm just as surprised as everybody else. That's also why I take myself off. So tell us what you're going to perform for us, and maybe give us a little history on the song itself.
And by the way, when it's the full band, it's more folk rock, I would say, like an alternative folk rock. I mean, it's just going to sound a little bit more like the Lumineers or bands. Mumford & Sons usually kind of gets us into the world, even though we don't sound very much like them. It kind of gets us into the world. I say people, if you like Mumford & Sons and Lumineers and bands like The Head and the Heart, like you'd probably enjoy what we're doing. I mean, that's kind of how I set it up. But the first song, however many songs, what do you want me to do? One song?
One or two, whatever you prefer.
Okay, whatever you have time for. This is a song called Rainbow Roses. And it's a song I originally was inspired to write based on something my daughter, who was about 6 years old at the time, Valentine's Day, she requested Rainbow Roses, and kind of came to me to write this song, which is essentially just about innocence and youth and just family, and kind of also just by how the transformation I went through when I
Rainbow Roses. All right, I'm taking myself off. It's all you, my friend.
Rainbow roses, I'll pass her anyway. I want roses that represent the colors in my life. Call me a dreamer, but I know I'm not the only one. If I could have it my way, rainbow roses, everyone. There's a light on you turned on when you first open up your eyes. I'll tell it to you 'cause it's true, you know, it's not my style to lie. And the fact is that I changed when you first came into my life. You're the rock that I could lean on, proof that I did something right, yeah. Light, I am captivated by all these colors, rainbow roses. I'll pass a red and white, I want roses that represent the colors in my life. Call me a dreamer, but I know I'm not the only one. If I could have it my way, rainbow roses, everyone. On the day I met my daughter, I became a different guy. Went from knowing what I wanted to knowing why. And when my son was born, I cried, and as a tear fled from my eye, you could see a mother's glory, sense a father's pride, yeah. Light, I am captivated by all these colors, rainbow roses. I'll pass them red and white, I want roses that represent the colors in my life. Call me a dreamer, but I know I'm not the only one. If I could have it my way, rainbow roses, everyone. That's the violin right there. Now here we are, now 6 years later, and I've never been so high. And I've never let this raging fire die. Thanks to all the rainbow roses in my life. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Hey.
Not what I expected at all. I loved it. And you know, I think when you say indie rock, I'm thinking, all right, I'm going to be mellow. I'm going to be super mellow right now. But that song made me happy. It made me smile. What was your daughter's reaction to that?
My kids love to. I mean, they saw it when you write a song like that. I mean, it starts off you're just writing it on the guitar, and no one can really hear what it's going to be, obviously, because there's a process that happens in the studio that takes it from the raw or acoustic or piano version to what you eventually hear, which is like the recording magic and just kind of capturing that moment. And once it had everything in it, I mean, it just really lifted the experience. My kids listen to that song, dance around. They love the part where I talk about them.
Of course they do. That's the best part, Dad. You know it. I love that, though. It was uplifting. I felt, you know, that's why I also don't put myself on there. I was moving and smiling, and I mean, that was great. I did get a little bit of the Irish you talked about there, just a little when I closed my eyes, especially when you did the I don't know. Yes. I'm like, oh my God, that's exactly what that is. I loved it.
Well, all right. They're all uplifting like that. There's only one on the EP, like the last album we did, that's kind of rooted in conflict that it resolves, but it's like there's only one that kind of is not so happy.
You know, I think that it's the emotional part. And when you tell the story like you shared, the impetus behind it, the origin, where you came up with it, why you wanted to, I think that just adds so many awesome layers to a song when you perform, because then you know where the heart of it was. I love that. All right, what are you playing second for us?
Well, I was going to actually take it in another direction.
Okie doke.
You heard the happy one. And I'm not going to say that this song isn't happy, because it does resolve. It ends up in a happy place. But let me take you on a little ride. I hear you, I'm listening, I'm trying to get back to giving you all my attention, but I can't, I'm stuck in the tension. It's time we make a decision. Who's right? Who's gonna give it? I'm innocent, singing my songs. You're a victim, you never do wrong. Don't take the bait, baby, take the high road. 'Cause you know the low road won't get you where you wanna go. Sometimes it takes just a little patience, and that's better than frustration. How's that for free education? It seems like you want to live it. I think that I should just sip it, let you get tired and expire while I pour some ice on the fire. Don't take the bait, baby, take the high road. 'Cause you know the low road won't get you where you wanna go. Sometimes it takes just a little patience, that's better than frustration. How's that for free education? Take the high road, take the high road, take the high road. Take it where you wanna go, take the high road, take the high road, take the high road. Take it where you wanna go. It seems like you are afflicted, flat out hardcore addicted to thinking you got no issues. But I guess I lucked out, I found you. Don't take the bait, baby, take the high road. 'Cause you know the low road won't get you where you wanna go. Sometimes it takes just a little patience, that's better than frustration. How's that for free education? Take the high road, take the high road, take the high road. Take it where you wanna go, take the high road. Take the high road, take the high road. Take it where you wanna go.
Completely different to me. I loved it. Very late. I'm an old person, so late '90s. That whole vibe. You know, just the storyteller is what, you know, very storyteller oriented, which I loved. Why that song? What was who needed to take the high road?
Oh, it's funny because my wife was really pissed off when I first wrote that song. And then it became her favorite song. Man,
if that's about her, you are in trouble.
I had to tell her. I said, babe, you know, maybe it starts with a little conflict that we're having, but then I got to take it all the way and like start drawing on conflict I have in other parts of my life. It's not all about you, but you know, it's the concept that snagged me, because one, there weren't any songs really, like big songs called "Take the High Road." I said there needs to be a song first of all called "Take the High Road," because I say this, it's too important of a title to not have a good song behind it, and you know it could be applied. I like the what's the word? You know, that it could be applied to so many different situations.
Universal.
Yeah, taking the high road, like biting your lip, like just taking the high road in not just your marriage, but in any relationship where you're like, you know what? Okay, I'm just going to just not go in that direction with this, because that's going to lead to discomfort and pain and a lot of things that none of us wants to go through. I'm going to just take the high road here. And I mean, I don't have to explain to you what it means, you know, but that's the idea behind it. And it is fueled by that very thing for me, but it's important to recognize the arc of it, because it starts off in that conflict. And as you see, and as it's also exemplified best in the animated music video, which we made for it, because I didn't feel like I could do it justice without kind of being able to kind of do the video we made, where you see it start off in conflict and you see it end up in such a higher place you can have ever been because the high road was taken. You have two people standing on a mountaintop holding hands after all they've been through and after all they've, you know, after the, you know, it's the calm after the storm type thing, you know.
I loved it. I absolutely loved it. All right, tell them, before we run out of time, tell them the best way to reach you, learn more about your music, performance, all of that good stuff. How can they reach out to you and find you guys?
Look, if you guys liked what you saw and you want to, you know more, listen to more, you can always listen to our music on Spotify, iTunes, wherever. Please follow us on Spotify if you do. But the best place to kind of like get in with us and connect and really get, you know, the most from us is our private Facebook page, our Hoot and Roar Facebook page. Hopefully Ted can link to it in the show notes. But we're so present on that for anybody who like just finds out about us and like wants to kind of like, you know, be in our world. We post things there first. We do special deals on merch. We let everybody know about everything that we're going to do. It all starts with the Facebook group page. Then it goes to Instagram. Of course, all our videos are on YouTube. But really, like, the base place for us is the Facebook group page. And that's where I send people who are really interested in just following us. So.
Love it. All right. You're amazing. Please come back anytime. You got a new release. You want to talk about anything.
And like I said, Nicole couldn't be here today because she had some issues. She had to watch her kids and stuff, but she regrets being here. And I mean, if you thought I was good, you would love us even more if you saw her here because she just brings so much to the table with her beautiful voice and violin. So yeah, I just
you have to come back for that then for sure.
Thank you, Ted. I appreciate the time.
Thank you so much, Jay. That was so good, unexpected. Again, because I don't do any real research. I don't like to listen before. I like to be surprised. And it was so pleasantly surprising. It was really, not that I looked at you and thought, oh God, he can't sing. But it's, you know, you just never know what the music's going to sound like when somebody performs live. And I also love your jacket, by the way, because I am a jacket person. Very nice. All right. You guys go reach out, owlsandlions.com, but you can also find them on their Facebook page, which we tagged. We'll tag again. And this video is on all of the platforms right now. So reach out and support our artists. 2020 was a crazy year, and everybody's trying to come back in 2021. And so artists like Jay and Nicole, we want to get behind them and support them so that they can continue to bring us music that brings joy to our lives. Thank you, Jay. Talk to you soon, guys.